live. So there is no announcement and there is no anything specific planned, but we have decided that every Friday we would go live to share some research insights that we do at Elite Mind. And for anyone who's listening, I would like to introduce you to Valentina. And Valentina is our head of insights at Elite Mind. So, our fresh new member of the team that we're really, really excited to have. And our ways of working with Valentina is that every week we are doing parts of research on exploring different aspects of human behavior and human experiences that we can then use to embed in our well-being compass, that we know we have this wonderful assessment that allows people to check different aspects of their health and well-being in social, emotional, cognitive, and physical well-being aspects. And we are digging into those bits of research every week, and then every Friday we review what we've discovered. And some of those conversations that we have are really, really insightful. So we thought those are too good to keep it for ourselves. So, so we've decided every Friday to go live and just share some bits of snippets of our research and what we've been looking into so that you can learn something from that too and have an insight into our research that we do at Elite Mind. So Valentina, welcome. Really, really happy to have you here and to have you on board. So tell me a little bit more about some of the research that you've been doing this week and what we've been looking at for over the last few days.
And thank you so much for having me. It's a the team and great to do this research. I'm happy to be able to share them. A lot at kind of resistance and how they feed into one another, how we measure those things. So are we using, how are we asking those kinds of insights about themselves? Various things come up there. It's inherent difficulty with self.
Valentina, your audio is breaking a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure why that is, but it's kind of like every few seconds it just kind of goes quiet every few bits. So I'm not entirely sure why that is. Let's see.
You let me know if the background makes a difference.
There might be some small connection issues there, but it should be okay.
Check to cover that will help.
Yeah. So this week we've been looking at some of, as Valentina already started sharing, we've been looking at those insights at how some of our behaviors are being assessed online by some other assessments. And it was very interesting that we found, well, without naming very specific names or companies or questions, that we find that the way questions are being asked in some of those assessments are very subjective, and to the point that if I'm asked those questions, I probably wouldn't know the answer. So, for example, how many hours I sit a day over the last month, or the average number of hours that I slept, the activities that I've completed. So yeah, what would be the better ways of looking at some of those behaviors, Valentina? And let's see what we could use in some of our assessments and how we are planning to overcome some of those challenges in our assessments.
Absolutely. So I think with people about how many, that's not really how we think. I think about the number of hours that we're doing. We do think about our lifestyles as a whole. portions, maybe it's a bit more. So asking questions, what kinds of jobs people work in, do they find they get up regularly during, if you have a desk-based job, go for a walk, make a cup of tea, questions that relate a lot more things we remember. So when we think, we don't often think about the park for 4 hours. Think, oh, I went to the park, I saw my friend, and those are the kinds of things. Information a lot more accessible in our marketing questions that ask in a very structured way. Something, and then if we know habits and the kind of they remember, then we can start working hours and things like that based on our.
Yeah, it's interesting to reflect on some of the things that people remember and making it relevant to them, because sometimes some of those questions we don't even know why they're being asked, right? So also educating people about, the quality of sleep, the routine, and why we are asking, do you have a regular time to go to bed, and why is it important? So it's also these kind of little nudges that we can use to facilitate this behavioral change, that helps people to better understand, okay, how I do this, and have this better self-awareness of why I do it in a way that I do during my day. Also, there is this aspect of when we're trying to change our behavior, if we want to build some of those healthy habits, how much of that is actually forceful, intentional change and intentional behaviors, because we realize that most of our competitors are actually encouraging their clients to forcefully, like very rationally, intelligently, like intentional habits, build some of those behaviors and some of those health and well-being behaviors, which is all very well. But we also, it's very important to realize that most of our habits and behaviors are actually not intentional. So by trying to fight our subconscious processes by these kind of cognitive, rational, logical parts of our minds, we end up just fighting ourselves and burning a lot of energy in that way, right? So what would be other better ways to encourage people to learn how to build those habits by transferring it from these cognitive ways of forceful ways of doing to the point where it becomes just automatic and intuitive?
So I think that there's kind of strategies that we can use from conscious to the unconscious or subconscious habits, and like you say, that of energy, it change our habits, and the reason we energy because then we can do some things and I'll save our energy for the things that we need business for. And often of kind of trying to change, we'll find it a lot harder than further down the line is going on there. The first is that just change a lot of habits at the expending so much energy, and we're kind of setting us there. To be said for starting learning the process in terms of us as individuals, and where you actually make a change. And once we are familiar with what that is, then we know that go through in our minds when we're how to work with those in different dialogues that we can that will help with that. We then gain the confidence. Okay, so I did make this, and now I can use that same to change maybe a more deeply ingrained, slowly like that. Then we sort of our own processes of change, confidence, which is such a big part of that. Otherwise, I start. Really, really helps us make those changes. Talking a bit about habits. We were once you have one habit, it takes far less energy to kind of that, where it's kind of into almost like one habit rather than trying to code. I suppose it's kind of like piggybacking exists rather than through the woods of our brains.
Yeah, so there's that aspect of habit stacking, right? And I think there's also some of these myths, when you say like if it takes 21 days to build a new habit, or 3 months, or so on. So there are all these kind of different theories that says you have to practice a habit for a certain period of time until it becomes automatic. But actually it's not really true, because the way our habits are formed is a learning process. And you know there are so many different ways to form those habits. So for example, I do yoga every morning, right? And I set up my environment in a way that encourages me to do that every day. So my yoga mat is always out in the middle of my room. So I physically have to step on it if I want to leave the room, right? So as I get out of bed, and if I want to leave the room, the yoga mat is there. So it's just encouraging me to be on it, and just creates this routine where I'm doing this every day. But that's something that I've been doing for years. And there are periods of times when I do this every day, month in and out. But then something happens. Maybe I shift out of my usual sleeping routine. I end up working late. I sleep in. There's all sorts of things happen in our other routines in our life that then gets me out of my usual morning routine, and that's it. And then I stop doing that yoga in the morning, and it might take me again weeks until I get back on track. So just because we form that habit, it doesn't mean that it's always going to stay there. We need to create these supportive environments and other routines to support it and stack those habits. So the easiest way to gain any new habit is first to create this right environment that kind of prompts you to do that. So it just kind of becomes much easier, but also to stack it on existing habit that you already have, that it's not going anywhere, right? So if you're brushing your teeth every morning, imagine you're not brushing your teeth. It's just not, it's impossible, right? You know that you will brush your teeth every morning. So you could say that as you brush your teeth, you will also do, I don't know, 10 squat jumps or something, right? Or before you do that. So you're attaching that habit to the thing that you will do anyway. So for example, I'm not drinking enough water, but I always have a cup of coffee in the morning. It's like my morning ritual. I will have that cup of coffee no matter what. So now I am encouraging myself that every time I boil that kettle, and I'm, while I'm making that coffee and preparing that for myself, I will have a glass of water. So I will need to have a glass of water before I have that coffee. So now I'm already associating having a glass of water with that cup of coffee, so encourages me to drink more of that water. So there's a lot of little things like that we can do to stack those habits to facilitate it, right? And this is exactly what we will embed in some of our technology and some of our assessments and habit trackers, that actually creates this environment that facilitates this effortless change from just intentionally, forcefully doing something and struggling, to the point where we know how to create those right practices for our well-being and for our self-care, kind of effortlessly, or with the least effort.
And I think that's a really of it, is acknowledging that there are gets, there are going to at time to these habits, and working with them, and thinking it's really difficult for me to remember when I'm focused on what I'm focused on and acknowledging that. Let's make it easier, like ourselves. Let's bring also things that are like, having a first cup of coffee in the morning, associating a new habit with that, you'll kind of associate similar emotion with the pleasure of having a first glass of and so building that into advice and support that we're able to come. I think it's really the success of it really what actually helps somebody really through the kinds of about what um, really help changes.
Yeah, and you were talking about energy, but also there is other big aspect in all of this change and building those well-being habits, and that's emotion, right? It's how we feel and how what kind of emotional state we are in, because what is emotion? Emotion is energy in motion. It's evolved there to give us this incentive and initiative to take specific action, to give that fuel, to do something, to go towards something or away from something, to safety and towards opportunities. So we are constantly using our emotion as that way to calibrate what we're supposed to be doing. So knowing how to manage our emotions, how to regulate that, and how we can use it as a fuel for our emotions is definitely a great way to initiate some of those new change behaviors. So I think that would probably be a nice topic for us to explore next time, when we can look at emotional regulation and emotional intelligence as well, right? So how can we build our better self-awareness? How can we build some of those habits and behaviors inside out and use our emotion as energy, as a fuel to drive our intentions?
Fantastic.
So thank you for anyone who's watching. So I see Rob has joined. Yes, I think there is Valentina's sound and streaming. There's something there. That sound is jumping a little bit. So we're going to have to look at it over the next few times to make sure that it's that we can hear you clearly. Yeah, so thank you so much. If you have any other questions about changing habits, measuring your performance and making sure that we are driving our change not by force and forcefully fighting ourselves, but doing it naturally, then please do get in touch, share some of your experiences, what habits you've been able to build, and how you were able to kind of measure your progress along the way, and anything that helped you. So please share any experiences with us, any questions you have, send them our way, and we will be answering them over the next few times. So speak soon. Bye.
Bye.